you get that fuck you money, right? Where like, I
Yeah.
have my house paid off. I have this paid off. I have this paid off. If I go to work one day and my boss pisses me off, I can just say, fuck you, I'm out.
Yes.
Right. So you get that number in your head, and then life evolves, and then now you hit that number, and then it's the next number.
Yes.
And then it's the next number.
It's the goalpost.
Right. Everything
Always
just keeps moving. Right.
Yeah.
Welcome to Married to the Startup. I'm Alicia McKenzie, a wellness entrepreneur and digital creator. Alongside me is my amazing husband, George, the CEO who's always ready for a new challenge. We've been navigating marriage and running startups for over a decade, and we're here to share the real, unfiltered journey with you. Join us for insights and candid conversations about integrating love, family, and entrepreneurship. This is Married to the Startup, where every day is a new adventure.
Welcome to another episode of Married to the Startup. I am your host, Alicia McKenzie.
And I am George. Just George.
Just
Summer of
George.
George. It's a Seinfeld reference. You'll never get it.
What happened this week, babe?
Our baby turned 4. Is
Our
that what you're referring to?
Baby turned 4.
Yeah. Flies by, doesn't it?
So in order to fill the void of not having a baby, we get to pick up 4 chickens.
I am not on this chicken game.
We're going on a day date, and we are picking
It's
up
hardly a date.
our 4 chickens. It's a date.
Is it?
Actually, it's not, because we're going to break out one of our kids from school.
Yeah.
This one is in lower school, so he has nothing to do. And he's
He
like,
has plenty to do.
He said, I could leave school.
You just want him to go see chickens.
And our 8th grader was like, I can't miss because I have so-and-so. And our 4th grader has play rehearsal. And
Mhm.
our 2nd grader was like, I don't have anything. You could just pick me up.
Mhm.
So we're going to pick up the baby boy and we're going to go get our chickens to fill the void of me not having another baby ever again for the rest of my life.
Alrighty then.
Does that not make you sad
No. It's just
that we have no more babies?
It's a different season. Life has lots of seasons, lots of chapters.
But I'm in my prime childbearing years.
I don't believe that to be true.
I know, I'm getting old.
That's not the case.
Sad panda.
No.
What are we talking about today?
I don't know.
What are we?
I just noticed you didn't say the number of the episodes. Is it because you don't know?
We are actually at episode 69.
Oh, my favorite episode.
Should we make this a sex episode?
We should have, but I was not prepared for a sex episode. But I'm always down.
Anyways, what are we talking about?
I think what we were going to talk about today is more around what, we normally talk about starting a business or operating a business and running a business, to kind of a little bit about expectation setting for when you exit and the things that people don't talk to you about or you don't think about.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That one day this big number shows up in your bank account and you go from this euphoria of I made it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here's this big number to, what am I going to do now? And how do I not lose this?
Is that what your thought was?
That was mine. It went from the anxiety every day of how do I build this company? How do I build wealth? How do I take care of my family? To, oh, fuck, how do I not lose all this money?
How many businesses actually make it to a successful exit?
I don't know, but I think that, preparing for the exit, there's never a bad time to start preparing.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think I wished I would have done a little more identity searching and stuff beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
You don't know what you don't know, though.
That's true.
So looking at this, roughly 70 to 90% of businesses fail or never return capital.
Yeah.
That's a lot. About 10 to 20% return some money. Only 1 to 5% achieve a meaningful exit, and less than 1% become a unicorn level outcome.
Right.
The odds were not in our favor for
No.
anything to.
No. But yeah. So I think I want to focus less on not making it and more on the making it part. And I think, it's something that you have to prepare for, or you should prepare for.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think there was a lot of expectations. I would say maybe this is an interesting topic because I don't know if we've ever talked about it personally, but I remember, we were at Michaela's gymnastics in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and we were doing laps, walking around, and we were just talking about how insane it could be if this transaction goes through, and then one day we would have this number in our bank.
Yes.
Right. And it's like, you think about all the things that could change in your life with this wealth event.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then, is your lifestyle going to change? Your identity, your expectations, all these things that could change. And then the number hits, and then it becomes real.
Yes.
And then, so what were the things, what kind of went through your mind when we were talking about that, if you remember?
It didn't seem surprising at the time because I always had full faith and confidence in you that you were going to do what you said you were going to do,
Mm-hmm.
because that was never not the case. Right. So you tell me, I'm building this company. We never wanted to sell. Somebody's coming to us wanting to buy it. I don't think the number's right. And in my mind, the way we were living during the DPS days was amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing had to change. We were doing what we wanted. You had a really good company that people believed in. You had values. You were ethical. There were never any scandals. We had pretty good flexibility. You were there for Michaela and for Ava. We only had 2 kids at the time, so it was a little bit easier. But in my mind, we had everything we needed, and a wealth event did not make as drastic of a change as one would expect.
Yeah. I mean, I think.
Do you not agree?
I don't know. I think our lives have changed a ton.
They have.
Yeah.
But it didn't need to happen.
It didn't need that, but it does. And I think that's the thing, that either you think, oh my God, my life's about to change for the better because all this money is going to be in my bank account and I'm going to have this wealth of it, or it's my life's not going to change at all. And I think neither one of them are really true.
Mhm.
I mean, changes will happen, but it's kind of preparing yourself and making sure that, I know I struggled in the beginning, right? When you're like, first, your whole life, my whole life, it was always, hey, I need to get to X number. And when I get X number in my net worth or whatever, then I finally made it.
Mhm.
And then I'll finally feel secure. I feel safe. I know that, back to like I don't know if it was Big Lebowski, but it was one of those movies where, like, you get that fuck you money, right? Where like,
Yeah.
I have my house paid off. I have this paid off. I have this paid off. If I go to work one day and my boss pisses me off, I can just say, fuck you, I'm out.
Yes.
Right. So you get that number in your head, and then life evolves, and then now you hit that number, and then it's the next number.
Yes.
And then it's the next number.
It's the goalpost.
Right. Everything
Always
just
moving
keeps
it.
moving. Right.
Yeah. Do you think there's a slow lifestyle creep that always happens, whether you want it to or not? Right. So that could be, rather than buying those socks that are $7, I'm now going to buy these socks that are $40 for a pack of 6 or whatever. Like little things like that slowly add up. I think we have been a victim to that, or not a victim to it. It's happened.
Yeah.
Not for the worse, but it has happened.
Right. And I think those things, it's hard to prepare for, but I think it would be nice if we had thought about some of it, because you get the money and then it becomes, what do I want to do? And it was the major renovation right away to the house. And we had all these things, these big events that were happening. And I'm not saying I regret the renovation. It was a great renovation. I think we probably, if we'd have had more time to think about it.
The general rule of thumb is that after any wealth event that happens, you are supposed to wait at least 6 months before making a large financial decision.
Yeah.
We did not wait.
I think
6 months.
all of the founders of DPS back in the day, we all had major spends almost immediately after.
Yes. Right. But that is not
that's not what you're supposed to do.
That's
and I think
not
that's
the advice that people,
Yeah,
that
and I
any
think-
financial planner gives you.
Yeah. And I think it's hard to hold yourself accountable, but I think the euphoria of the moment, and then you have this wealth event and you're like, all these things I've been waiting for, I just want to do it.
Yes.
And I think it's unrealistic to set that expectation of, hey, I've been grinding for however long it is to get this business going, and now I'm having this amazing event. It's really hard to say, okay, have this amazing event, celebrate it, but don't spend any money.
Yes.
Like, I think that's unrealistic.
It is unrealistic.
So that's why I think it's part of this is having that plan of, okay, I'm going to allow myself to spend X. Some small percentage of what you had, that I'm going to be guilt-free. I'm going to spend this and I'm not going to, feel guilty about doing it. But make sure it's a number that's not altering, like 5%, 2%, some small number that I'm going to allow myself to spend to shower myself with the success that I've had.
I remember my one major purchase after our first acquisition.
Right.
Do you remember it?
Your Chanel bag.
My big jumbo black on black Chanel bag that I was waiting for. And back then, this thing was only, and I say only, it's relative, right? It was $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the store. I bought a $5,000 purse, guilt-free.
Yeah.
Right. Before purchases like that were like, ugh, okay, I can still buy it, but maybe I shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
This purchase was absolutely guilt-free. Walked into the store, plopped down the card, left with the bag. And I still have that bag to this day, right? Like, that is my memento of us finally achieving a certain level that we had wanted.
Yeah.
Right. And your purchase was actually, what was it? It was a watch. You bought a watch.
Yeah. I got a Panerai. It wasn't like it was like a $3,000 watch.
Yeah, but it's the same thing, right? It was something that we'd been putting off because it's like, does it really make sense to spend this money right now when we're trying to build and build and build? And the answer was no.
Yeah. And I think that was the one thing for me that I try to caution founders when you have that wealth event is the things the money and the lifestyle creep is the one thing that happens. And it's, you tell yourself you won't, but it's more often than not, it does. The other is that identity crisis, right? So for me, it was the grind of having a small business, right? Was my identity. Every day it was DPS. I was on the calls all the time. I was constantly working. And then one day, you've sold the company. And now I was a managing director just at Accenture, this big firm. And it just did not feel the same. It wasn't the same kind of grind. And then it becomes, all right, who am I underneath that? And that was challenging because
you're dreadfully unemployable.
Yeah, because I realized that, my identity was tied to that. Now I think I've done better at, understanding who I am as a person, but factoring in or recognizing that the grinding part is what I really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to define who I am, but it's something I enjoy doing.
Mm-hmm.
So like I find myself continually gravitating back to that.
Yeah.
You're
a builder.
The small business build. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes you happy.
Yeah, it does.
And if it does, then
right. I mean, I think that's the thing I would say you get lost sometimes when you start a small business or any business. You get lost in who you are versus the business.
Mm-hmm.
You become the business, especially with married couples. That if you're both in it, I think we had that talk with a couple of the other founders we've had on of how do you maintain husband, wife, lover, parent, business owner, and then all those identities. How do you keep them somewhat balanced? Doesn't become we're just entrepreneurs that talk about business 24/7.
It's hard.
It is.
It's a hard.
So now when you have that wealth event and that part gets removed, that you're not talking about business every day.
Yeah.
It can, it's something that you should at least think about.
What's a practical application of any of this? I think the first tip would be if you have a large event, and a large event could be relative, right? Maybe it's your first $10,000 month or your first $20,000 month. Set aside a percentage of that you are willing to just spend on however you want.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that could be, I don't know, 5%. 5% of your first $20,000 month or your first $50,000 month. 10%.
Yeah. You have to celebrate the wins.
Absolutely.
And I think that if you don't, what are you doing it for?
I distinctly remember the first 6-figure month at DPS, right? And we had a huge dinner.
I think we spent all the profit that we made on this dinner. I think we went to just to show the dichotomy of what we do now versus what we did then.
Yeah.
And I think that can kind of lead into the segment about, how some of the tensions that happen,
Mm-hmm.
Lifestyle creep is a tension that happens once you get wealth.
For sure.
So let's say at that point in time, the founders, we all drove up to Atlantic City. We got a hotel room in Atlantic City at the Borgata, right? And we had this quote unquote fancy meal at the Borgata.
Oh my god!
And we got a big bottle of wine.
We got a big old Magnum.
A Magnum of wine, and we had this amazing meal.
I think one of the founders ate like 80 ounces of steak.
Yeah. And we did this. It was just one night. We drove up there to spend one night and to come back. But that was like the big excursion.
Oh man!
And it's just so different from your lifestyle today. I think that kind of is that lifestyle creep that happens. Like
I wonder
those
how
things versus what you would do today.
We should drive to Atlantic City.
We should
for one night.
Nostalgic, just to see
how it feels now.
Yeah. So I think that those are the three tensions in my mind. Like once you had this wealth event, one is the identity thing of, oh my God, I've been a grinder my whole life trying to figure this out. You know, I was worried about making the rent and making a mortgage payment and qualifying for a mortgage and
making payroll
and doing all these things.
Money
and
from
now,
here.
right now I've got all this money. You know, I've sold the company. I don't have anything that I'm building to have a big payout.
Mm-hmm.
So this could be all the money I ever get. How do I not lose it?
Yeah.
And then, you know, luckily for me, I met, I think it's the DC area. Once you started winning these awards and you get, you know, the company's notoriety, all of the wealth management people come out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
They start contacting you.
Of course.
And I'm not sure everybody needs a wealth manager because, I think there's lots of articles and lots of ways that you can park your money, but if you're not disciplined, having that wealth manager is great because you have that sounding board for ideas and someone to hold you accountable, right? To say, hey, you've been taking a lot out the last 6 months. Is everything okay? Because this could affect the long-term strategy. I just want to make sure that you're understanding and it's good to have some, because if not, it's just you. And it's really easy to barter with yourself. Be like, well, it's just a bad quarter. Oh, I really needed this vacation. Oh, I really needed X, Y, or Z.
Yes. Most of our money is housed somewhere. And there is a gate there.
Yes.
that keeps us from just making stupid choices.
Yeah.
And there is a person there with the key.
Yeah.
And it's not that we have to justify spending our own money, but there's just someone there throwing low-level questions like, are we sure we really need to buy a boat? Or is it that, do we really want to buy this property? So on and so forth, right? So there's somebody there who is just a voice of reason and a neutral party with nothing to gain other than that small fee that we pay him.
Yeah. But I think, for me, outside of the identity stuff, the lifestyle creep started happening and you don't even notice it right away. You don't. Right? And it becomes, like we talked about, the celebration at the Borgata becomes the celebration in Vegas.
Let's take the PJ.
Or it becomes the celebration in Key West or the European vacation, or like it just continues to snowball into different things. And then, I need to upgrade my house or I need these cars. And then you fall into that trap of, I have to look like a success because I was a success.
Yeah.
And it's kind of for me, it was kind of like a life cycle. Like it happens and then you start to realize that, I don't give a fuck what other people think.
Yes.
But the other part that I'm sure happens to everybody, and it's something that it's kind of like the lottery, is when you have this wealth event, and especially when friends and family know, it becomes, hey, can I borrow X?
Yeah.
Or, hey, could you do Y or Z?
Yeah. Hey, our car broke down. Can you just loan us $1,000 and we'll pay you back? We promise we'll pay you back. But, and you get a lot more of those requests and it's hard to say no, but at some point you realize that it's a one-way transfer and that you only get that phone call when somebody needs something. Yeah. And that's what I don't like. I don't mind sharing we buy 30 tickets to a concert and we invite tons of people. Mm-hmm. And we love doing that, right? That makes me happy. I love getting people together and listening to music or eating food. And that's great. Come on, we can all have some dinner at the table. But when it's one way and I feel like a mark or a transaction, I don't like it at all. Mm. And I will cut you off so fast.
Yeah.
without feeling bad about it.
But yeah, that's something that I think most people, you have to prepare yourself for. You may never even think it, but it happens. And you don't even, it just becomes you pick up the tabs for dinner, or you pick up this, and then it becomes the expectation. And then
Exactly.
all of a sudden,
it's the expectation.
You hate it.
I don't want you to expect anything from me except some good conversation and a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
But the second you start expecting us to pick up the tab or expecting us to pay for the vacation, like, that's when I get a little cranky.
Yeah. And I think, so after kind of those tension moments in the very beginning, and it was harder for us and me particularly, because during that time was when I decided I was going to take the year sabbatical.
Mm-hmm.
And it was challenging for me that identity part was more than anything. And then
me too.
You too?
You finding your identity.
It became and then I also think that it was, the paranoia of, hey, our lifestyle has crept up to this point. We're spending X, Y, or Z. People keep asking me for money, wada, wada, wada. And then it's like, just becoming paranoid about being broke. And that's something I'm paranoid about all the time.
Regardless.
I still am.
Regardless.
And then you just think about every purchase as a threat. Every person that comes into your life, it could be a threat that asks for money. And then the market and, all these things start to really compound. And when you don't have that identity solid and you don't have the grind of a small business anymore, it becomes because most people are high functioning business owners. You're achievement or goal oriented.
Yeah.
And when you have
no goal,
the only goal is preservation,
mm-hmm.
right? It becomes really challenging. It was challenging for me. I'll just put it that way.
Was challenging?
It is still, but I've gotten better.
Have you?
I think.
Have you? There are some conversations that I don't enjoy having with you.
Yes, I'm sure.
And they usually involve our credit card statement.
Yeah.
Even though I could spend way more.
You could, but you also have to be open-minded to the fact that our lifestyle creep had gotten out of control.
Meh.
Yeah, that's not true. That is 100% true. No one should spend that much.
Really?
Yes. Right. And then, because I think you get to that trap where it becomes performative. Like, I've got to buy this stuff because people expect it, or because I live in this neighborhood and we go to this school, we have to dress this way. And the kids have to wear this. And, oh, God forbid they wear Gap clothing or Target clothing. And that becomes a thing. And it's not just us. I think everywhere. Like,
I don't
people
think it's
expect it. People expect it.
I try very hard not to fall into that trap because I don't care.
I know, but I think maybe now you don't. And you start it. We've talked about it before. You start to, what are the experiences that I'm focused on,
mm-hmm.
versus kind of like the yurt versus the 5-star hotel. Like, you get into this trap with wealth of, I've got to stay at the 5-star hotel. I've got to buy this nice stuff because that's what everyone expects. And that's what I should be buying because that's the status I am, versus, what do I really want?
Yes.
Right. And I think that it's a trap that everybody falls into, not just us, but
for sure.
And it takes discipline to reset your life into, what do I actually want my life to be?
Yeah.
Versus just continuing to do what social media and everybody feeds me.
My true thought is that happiness is whatever you make of it, obviously,
mm-hmm.
but also it's being able to pull my kid out of school at 1:00 on a random Thursday and go pick up chicken.
Yeah.
Right. Like, little things like that actually make me happy, actually move the needle. Buying another bag, having the label, that doesn't really make me happy.
Right. And I think it takes
an evolution to get to this point.
Yeah. And I think everybody goes through it. And I wish someone would have had that conversation with me. Like, the biggest thing, the conversations people had with me prior to transaction were really around getting a wealth manager. Oh, doing this, that, or the other, getting your insurance policies, getting this, getting that. It wasn't really about, hey, there's going to be an identity crisis that happens. There's going to be scope creep that happens in your life with wealth. You start to, relax the purse strings, and you end up spending money on things that you wouldn't have thought you would have.
Yeah.
Right. And then you get past that season, you realize, man, I spent a lot of money on shit that didn't matter.
Yep.
Right. Like, oh, I got to go buy the Lamborghini, got to have this, got to have that. And then you realize, I don't even drive it. It just sits in the garage.
With bikes parked up against it.
Yes. I mean, it's just very interesting how that happens. And no one really had that conversation with me.
The Lamborghini purchase, though, was something that you wanted.
It was fun.
As a kid,
yeah.
right? I think 10-year-old George
Mm-hmm.
wanted a Lamborghini. 43-year-old George bought the Lamborghini. And that was the end of that chapter. And then you drove it for a few years and then we sold it, right?
Yeah.
It served a purpose. It accomplished a goal, even if the goal was completely unnecessary and juvenile because you were 10 years old when you made it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah, and
it had a purpose.
Yeah, I think we've evolved a lot. And a lot of it is I've started to move. It's more value oriented than that's more of my goals. Like, what do I value? I value experiences. I value spending time with my kids, like building stuff.
While they still like us.
Yeah, building a family, building a home, building, productive adults, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I value. And the money is a mechanism to allow me to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the focus. And then I value building companies and grinding. So that's kind of how I've started to change. Like, I don't value the next watch I'm going to buy. I don't value clothing. I don't value any of that stuff. I mean, you and I differ on that. I don't value any of that.
Not really. I mean, I just sold a purse and I'm going to invest that money into a company.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then I think we've come up to we have the budget meetings once a year, and then we'll set our goals for the year. And then we have our quarterly budgets, and it just becomes very seasonal now in life, right? Like, this is the season of investing, and this is where we're going to grind, right? And then this is the season where we're going to spend.
Yeah.
We're going on vacations. We're doing this. We're doing that. And this is the season of, philanthropy. We're going to be donating money or donating our time or doing this, that. And I think this is the season of quiet wealth. Well, we're not going to, have the overtures and spend a lot.
Austerity.
So I think it's, finding those seasons now and where are we, which season we're in, and then aligning values to that season.
I'm finding a lot of value in my nonprofit right now. And now I've got goals set for the end of the year, right? And by the end of Q2, we'll have raised almost $100,000, right, for my nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
So doing things like that is actually making me really happy, because I can then in turn take that money and give it out in the form of grants or other programs. And it's keeping me busy, and I actually really love it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I guess on an honest assessment, so what has really changed in our life?
We have
post wealth.
We have more say over where we can spend our time. You don't have anybody to answer to. I don't have anybody to answer to. We're able to invest resources, time into projects that we actually like and we actually enjoy, versus having to go to an office 2 days a week and work from home 3 days a week. And, I need you to turn your camera on because I can't see what you're doing. Right.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to deal with shit like that anymore. And I think having that flexibility and that freedom is the biggest change post acquisition.
Yeah. I think our problems changed a lot. Like the problems of rent. And
you would go to the negative.
No, I'm saying that you went from surviving.
Our problems got bigger.
Well, you went from surviving to meaning. Like, what do I want to do?
Yes.
How do I want to spend my time now? And I get it. It's a ethereal conversation for some of the listeners that may be building their business. Like, how the fuck am I going to think about like meaning? I got to think about making payroll.
Yeah.
I got to think about putting food on the table. And I get it. I was there too. It's just at a certain point, your life, you have to, when you have this wealth event, and that's what everyone hopes, is that, how do I want your challenges and problems change? Just being aware of it.
Do you foresee yourself retiring fully?
Probably not. I think I'm always going to have to do something.
I cannot imagine you not having anything to do. You would be dreadful.
And I think the pace of our life has changed. Like it was very hectic.
Yeah.
And now it's really, like you said, intentional. Like
Yes.
what do we want to do? What do we want to get accomplished? What's the goals for this season, this quarter, this month, this week?
We're also really intentional with our children's time, though, too.
Yeah.
Right? We could be driving them all over God's green earth for travel sports and for this and for that, because money is not an option, right? They could go to the best travel clubs and so on and so forth. But we value time over those experiences for them, right? I want them to have slow afternoons. I don't want them in traffic for 45 minutes. Like that's not something I want to do ever. I'm not getting up at 5 a.m. to go take them to 6 a.m. sport X, Y, or Z, right? That's not us. So we have intentionally slowed our children's lives down too and kept their radius really small. But I mean,
yeah,
is that a good thing?
I think so.
I don't know. Are they in a bubble now? When you say it like that,
yeah, for sure,
they're in a bubble.
Yeah, and that's it's a constant struggle for us of how do you manufacture that drive and that challenge in life that you have to overcome the obstacles. All right, so what didn't change, do you think?
What didn't change? Our means of travel didn't change. We didn't go out and buy a jet. We didn't go buy a boat.
Yeah.
We actually sold a boat.
Yeah, and I think that it was funny that you made a comment the other day about how we're probably the most PDA of all the couples we know.
Oh.
And I think we are still choose each other every day, and we kind of are still friends, I would say. Yeah, and we still enjoy doing the same simple stupid shit we always enjoy, like having a glass of wine and playing mahjong at night. It went from choir to mahjong and cards, like just having game nights and playing just with us.
That was so much fun. We were in West Palm Beach with 2 other couples, and we sat in the lobby and played a card game.
Yeah.
Right? Like it. And these couples are of similar status from us, right? They've sold a couple companies, high earning, high achieving, and yet the little things still make us all happy.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, and maybe it's just me because you never had fear, but like that's the thing that you thought, the misconception I had with wealth is that once you get it, right, then the fear of not making it or the fear of survival would go away. And that's not true. The fear never goes away, right? It just becomes more abstract about what the fear is. The fear of making payroll, paying your mortgage, making your car notes becomes the fear of losing money. And how much could you lose? And then how could you stop it? And it's interesting. And maybe it's just a personality flaw, but that fear, and maybe, I don't know, it's interesting.
Not a lot of people realize how traumatic and awful my childhood was for a few years. My father was a Marine Corps vet of 27 years, and he served in the Vietnam War. So when he came back, he suffered from severe post-traumatic stress disorder, was eventually diagnosed with schizophrenia, coped with alcoholism, and for about, I would say, 6 years of my life, it was really not good and really traumatic, to the point where there was something that happened and the police were called to my house and my father had to be evacuated to Walter Reed, and it was just really traumatic. Like there's points in my memory that I actually don't even remember. I'm sure I could go do some EMD therapy and like really dive into that. Not sure if I want to do that, but that gave me a really different perspective on life now, right? Because that was the lowest of the low, and it would take a lot to get back to that point, right? So I have a really high tolerance for financial discomfort or for relational discomfort, because nothing will ever compare to how awful that felt back then. So that's my
fear. conversation.
That's
Yeah.
my little.
Yeah. So I grew up poor, not traumatic experiences. And yeah, my fear of being poor, I don't know why I have that fear, because we got along fine. It was a good environment. You okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hard to talk about, I'm sure. Okay. So advice for people that are, especially couple-preneurs. I hate that word. I hate making up any word. So I would say, like, don't wait for the number to hit your bank account before you start to have the conversations about your identity and who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, your identity is not your job, and it's not your business. It's not your work.
No.
So you have to have that conversation, and the identity of your relationship and your marriage.
That's my
thing. You got to have that
thing.
conversation too.
Yeah.
We're not just business owners.
Yeah. But you and I have always had like a really weird, strong relationship, right? Like it takes a lot to rattle us.
True.
So I don't know. We can been through a lot, baby.
Yes, we have. And the other thing, like, especially for couples posts, is that you're not alone in that disoriented feeling, right? Whether, we had this wealth event, I should be super happy. I'm not super happy. Why is that?
Yeah.
And money, and the oldest saying in the world, money doesn't make you happy, but it does buy a jet ski.
It does buy a jet ski.
Yes. Is that, it's real, that feeling.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be a feeling of loss, like this baby, your company, is now not yours anymore.
Nope.
Right? And that, wealth isn't really the destination. It's the season. And, when that season ends, I've built this wealth. What do I do now?
Mm-hmm.
And prepare yourself for that.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Any parting words? Now that you made me cry, good job.
I did not make you cry.
You did. Good job, dear.
I was
just
yeah.
Not even a crier.
I know you're not.
Whatever.
It's a very traumatic event, dear. And
it is what it is.
It is, but it made you who you are today.
Indeed. Maybe a little unemotional.
I don't think that's the case. I think you're emotional. You're just more guarded.
Yeah.
Right? You just put walls up, which could be annoying. It can be annoying.
All right. I think we're done.
Why?
I don't know.
We don't want to delve into have this be a therapy session.
This is not a therapy session.
Would you like to lay down? I can, talk. Well, it is the 69th episode. We can make it a really therapy session if you'd like.
And scene.
Thank you for tuning in to Married to the Startup. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please take a moment to like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast. Your support helps us reach more people and keeps the conversation going. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, drop me a message. I love hearing from you guys. Until next time.